Innovation is in our DNA. This is how we expand the limits of knowledge and our technological frontiers for discovering, developing, and producing in various giant oil fields in ultra-deep water, in a complex production operation, confirming our technical capacity and global leadership, all with maximum production efficiency and lower carbon emissions. This is energy for transformation.
Hi everyone, welcome to one more OTC Live. My name is Marcel and I will be the moderator of this session today. I work at Petrobras for 19 years. Currently, I work at the research center working with innovation. By the way, for me it's a pleasure to moderate this live, especially of such exciting subject regarding innovation in oil and gas industry. For now, I would like to introduce Juliano Dantas, who will be responsible for today's presentation, entitled Scaling Technology. Juliano is the Petrobras Chief of Digital Transformation and Innovation. He is responsible for company's strategies in this area in connection mainly with Petrobras business boards. Graduating in Mechanical Engineering from the Federal University of Rio Grande do Norte, postgraduating in Project Management for Fundação Getúlio Vargas, Advanced Management Program by INSEAD, and Master of Science degree in Management by Stanford Graduate School of Business. Additionally, Juliano has a wide range of experience in upstream including wells construction, elevation and flow assurance, and offshore asset management, as well in key corporate functions in human research and procurement strategy. So, once again, welcome everybody and enjoy this live. In the end of this presentation, we have some time for question and answer. So please, if you have any question, use the chat to do it. Well, I think we are ready to start. I would like now to pass through Juliano. Juliano, now it's up to you.
Thanks, Marcelo. Thanks for that presentation, the introduction. I hope everyone is safe and comfortable for this presentation. It's of course a pleasure to be here in the OTC Live. We have 3 lives in this current 2 months. One, Marcelo, a colleague of mine, presented here efficiency and how technology is making an important role on achieving some very interesting goals for our assets. And then you have Viviana here, I think in a few weeks, talking about climate and our climate initiatives here at Petrobras. For me, it's a pleasure to talk about innovation and how it's our approach or how we are approaching innovation here at Petrobras. So this presentation will be more about how we're doing it and less of what we are doing. And I hope you enjoy it. In the end, as Marcel explained, it'll be my pleasure to answer some questions here. So let's get started. I'll share my screen with you. So this is our agenda for today. We'll start talking about where innovation took us so far, and then I'll explain our 5 strategic goals and what it means to have in the same directory or directorship IT, R&D, digital transformation, shared services, and cybersecurity, and what opportunities are there and how we are tackling it. And then I'll talk about a very new concept that we are implementing here, which we call innovation powerhouse or innovation machine. And I hope you like it. And then we'll talk about enabling this powerhouse and how we implement innovation by activating this machine, this motor. And I hope to tell you some examples of it. And then we'll make a quick conclusion to talk with you a little bit around the questions that may rise. So where innovation took us, Petrobras has a long story of innovation, very strongly linked to the history of the company itself. On our journey, we started on onshore fields, moving to shallow water, and then deep water, ultra deep water, and then the pre-salt fields that you are exploiting right now. On that journey, we had some awards of OTC prizes. We had for 4 times, and all of them very linked to a lot of firsts in the industry, including the last one last year for Búzios field. And then we can see how important is innovation and technology to enable our development in our future, and not only enabling it but also doing it more efficiently. And then when you go to the right side of the slide on the top, we can see some fields: Marlin, Tupi, and Búzios. Marlin was in deep water, Tupi already pre-salt, and Búzios pre-salt as well. But we can see how we are accelerating the way we get to, for example, the first 600,000 barrels per day. So for Búzios, we did that in 1/6 of the time that we did for Marlin, and 1/3 of the time we did for Tupi. So technology is also is enabling for sure, but is also accelerating the way we reach our goals. And on the bottom right of this slide, we can also see the, oh, I have a pointer here. So we can also see uh, the effect on costs. So we are looking at technology to reduce either CapEx and OpEx. And in every business plan, we can have new assumptions that incorporate learning and technology implementation that we see materialized on our subsea interconnection costs. For example, we reduced it 9% between the last business plan to the current one, as well construction cost that has been reduced over and over. And from the last plan to the new one, we are considering already 5% less cost on our wells, and that's linked to a pool of technologies that we put in place to make it happen, from equipment to fluids to the way we plan operations and so on. So this is a brief story just to highlight how technology is important for us, and then we can move on to talk about our strategic goals. So start with our purpose on our technology, innovation, and digital transformation directorship, which is to propel Petrobras into the future with collaboration, innovation, technology, and agility. So that purpose actually comprehends the objectives or our 5 strategic goals in this area. Just to make clear, we have here R&D, we have digital transformation, IT, shared service, and then cybersecurity. And you can see them on these 5 goals. For example, if you go clockwise, starting from innovate to value, we'll see mostly R&D there, where we look for accelerate implementation, portfolio management, which also means renewing the portfolio, failing fast, and oxygenating the portfolio itself. Connection to business challenges is very important to be sure we are connected to the business areas and working as a team. Connecting to the ecosystem, I'll be able to talk more about the ecosystem later on in this presentation. And also looking at new revenue channels to raise options for the company. And then we have protect to expand here in the bottom, where we look at secure by design. So design our applications on already a safe architecture, knowledge to protect. So be able to visualize all of our assets and understand what kind of protections we need for each one of them. Be secure, which is awareness of our people, of our behaviors. Safer user experience is using more intuition on our applications as well. And cyber resilience, which is related to our tools and ecosystem of protection. And then we go to the B digital, which is more related to our digital transformation area. And we look at change management, cultural transformation, new ways of working, and that includes agility, of course, and building a digital mindset, preparing people for this transition that we are on a full uh, journey right now. We have then the Go Digital, which is more related to our IT, and then we have technology platforms, some enablers like new applications, IT infrastructure, which talks to connections, connectivity, high processing, computer processing capacities, and then IT architectures that enable our escalation, including how we connect to our partners and how we make that connection efficient and smooth and productive to everyone. So understanding and designing the proper architecture is very important here. And then the goal in, which is the materializes the shared services where we are applying robotic process automation, digitalization, and process optimization, not only to the cooperative areas but also to the business and industrial areas as well. All that together is the opportunity that we have to deliver digital transformation and innovation in a very integrated way, as I said, with agility, collaboration, innovation, and technology. And then this is more. So we talked about why we're doing that, which is to take Petrobras to another step for into its future. And this is a little bit about what we're doing in this five goals with our structure. And then I'll move on to talk a little bit more about how we're doing it. So and then that's the most I think central point on our presentation for today, which is our innovation machine or innovation powerhouse. So I start dividing it in two parts. If you can, if some of you are engineers, of course, and I think you will correlate very well with electric engine, uh, where you have a synchronous motor when you have the rotor and then the housing, but every part has to be working together in order to deliver the power, and the power here is actually the power of innovation, is the products that we deliver with innovation. So in the rotor of this machine, we have the ability to provide collaboration models to ensure scalability and also enable access for our teams to knowledge and resources. I'll explain a little bit later each part of this motor in this rotor here. And then on the housing is really important because it ensures physical and cyber security. So we want to be safe in every definition of safety that we know, and also provides structures and very importantly sustain the business and innovation processes. I think one of the challenges of innovation is how to sustain it, and we see many pilot projects that stops on the pilot because we can't continue uh, just because we didn't plan how to sustain it. So sustaining is very important, and also we want to motivate our teams to work harder also in the sustenance of what we already delivered, while we have other teams working on and in the new tools, in the new products, in the new processes. So this is the first approach to the motor, the rotor, and the housing. And then now I'll move on to explain a little bit more of each part, and I hope it's getting more interesting here. So teams, we have this definition of innovation teams, where we organize many different teams from for with different purposes in a way that our digital transformation area is able to provide all the tools, all the methods, and also do some telemetry or on what the teams are doing, how they're working, and how can we help them. So here we include internal startups, safety innovation lab teams, R&D teams. We created these value streams concept. I'll talk a little bit more later. And this is the center of the machine. So the teams, looking at the teams and how they work, the R&D teams, for example. And then we have another layer, which is the centers of excellence. So these guys are looking at paving the way for the teams to work with resources, with knowledge. We can go on later and get into more detail. Just want to give you a general view. And then on this yellow circle here, it's very important the connections for innovation program, which is actually how we connect to the ecosystem. And these are every module there. It's a different way to partner with startups, with other enterprises, with academy, and even students. So we have many different ways to connect with them to them, and this is the very important part of the motor, as we take our teams, the resources they need, and the platforms, and also the standards and so on, governance, and then we provide them with resources from outside, from the ecosystem, so they can accomplish their goals, their tasks. And then on the right side here, in the housing again, we have the innovation sustainance that I'll talk more in the next slides, the tech infra renewal and structuration. So we do have a sustenance, but we are also improving on that. We are renewing capacity. We are adding new capacities to support the innovation machine, the rotor, and that's what we call tech infra renewal structuration. And then we have the protection enveloping the full machine. Just a little joke here. Don't try to read it while it's turning. But then we go on to the rotor, and then, as I said, we take care of our innovation teams. Every innovation team has access to all the resources that the machine can provide. For example, the R&D teams can use their robotic center of excellence, and then activate a startup in the connections for innovation, which will use the connectivity that our infrastructure of IT provides. So all the layers add together into a product that has to be developed and sustained. So the R&D teams, or the innovation teams, they are, for example, 750 R&D teams with researchers that are specialized not only in the disciplines of oil and gas, but other industries, plus IT, OT, and business professionals. We do that very integrated with our business areas. Otherwise, it won't be possible to implement anything. So there is a very strong link, and they are part of these innovation teams. We have product development teams also integrated with the business. Then more in the IT side, we have 20 teams of entrepreneurship, 20 teams that also work on operation and safety and health. This is our safety innovation lab teams. And then 14 business teams focus on data science and AI solution. But not only them are working on it, but these teams are very specific on this. So this is our approach for the first layer, the innovation teams, which is placed in the rotor of this machine. And if you go a little bit more outside, we move to the centers of excellence, and then we do have centers for AI analytics. It's one of the examples on the screen, but we also have centers for robotization and digitalization, centers for HPC, high computing capacity, and they work on how can we best use our capacity or even design new capacity. Industrial IIoT Center of Excellence, it's a very important one that connects IT and OT. And these centers are looking at standardization, as I said, connectivity. They're looking at architecture, knowledge, even trying to connect to the ecosystem. So some examples for the Center of AI Analytics are to inspect external corrosion, optimize vessel deployment, reservoir analysis processes, digital twins in upstream and downstream. We do that for anchoring systems, for example, in the downstream. We do for all of our downstream plants today. And then we have the cloud center, which we are in the full journey to the cloud. We're already partnering with Google and AWS on that journey. And as I said before, the digitalization and robotization center has delivered only 2021 more than 120 robots for robotic process automation, with over 720,000 hours of man hour saving. So this is to give you an understanding of our centers of excellence. And then moving ahead, even still in the rotor, we're looking at the Connections for Innovation program, which connects us to the ecosystem. We look at new engagement models. We already have 47 startups developing innovative solution with us. More than 900 partnerships with more than 9,000 researchers throughout the world, in Brazil and abroad. And we use that to accelerate our technology readiness level and adoption. Adoption is also very important here. We change the way we talk about the R&D deliveries. For example, we talk about them saying that they are value deliverables. So it only uh, has value when we can see the potential for delivering an application in the business. And that's why we created the CRL, the commercial readiness level, exactly to make sure that the technology readiness is accompanied with the commercial readiness, so we can transpose the Death Valley of technology, famous Death Valley of technology. And the Connections for Innovation program is also very important for us because it can provide that commercial readiness for us to consume that service, that product in the future, as we evolve together with the market on these developments. And then I will go a little bit more deep on the connection for innovation here. I hope you can see in this slide on the bottom left this QR code, and also our electronic, our address, our website, so where we address the Connections for Innovation program. I'm I apologize, it's not in English right now, but we are in the process of translating it because the opportunities there are very aimed to the entire world. So in the 6 models that are on the screen, you can see the startup module. You can see the tech order. This is also very important, where we share our challenges with the market, and we can invest in developing a solution, and we can also connect it to a contract going forward. So it's very important for the suppliers to understand that what has been developed has a chance to be consumed later on, and they also have a board. They have to explain how they can monetize on the development. And this tech order is very interesting because it connects the development part of the process to the final consumption. So inside we connect to our business areas, and this contracting model, it can basically do the seamless connection between R&D development and then deployment. It's also we have some of them today, which are in our website. You can check, and I'll talk about one of them if we have the time. The ignition module, which is more about the students' engagement. We have some teams working with us developing solutions for Petrobras. There's also the solutions acquisition module that also deals with startups, but not only that. And I would say solutions acquisition is more focused on higher technology readiness and is closer to deployment. So we can contract the technology, and with some adaptation or further development, we will also have a contract. So the main goal here is not only to develop, but to actually contract the technology and use it to solve some of our challenges in a very quick way. Last year we publicized 12 of them, and we are in the process in the end of last year, and we are in the process of closing the contracts for 12 of these solutions on these modules specifically. There's also the tech partnerships, and here we work with the mostly with uh, uh, the ICTs, the institutions of science and technologies. Uh, in it's more cooperation terms and so on. Sometimes we start here with tech partnerships and we can move to tech order or move to solutions acquisition. They're very interconnected. Uh, we also have the tech transfers, which is we take our IP and share with the market when we know there is a demand from our business areas. So we coordinate with the business areas very timely to make sure that when they demand that, we already have companies being able to deliver that technology because we did the technology transfer process in advance. So this is just a quick view of the our connections to innovation program, which is part of the machine. And then we go to the housing. So what's that? What is in the housing part of it? So the innovation sustainance is it's, as I said, is a very important uh, piece of the machine. Without it, it can't run as smoothly without friction. And we see sustainance even as an inductor of movement in this machine. So we, for example, in R&D, we have over 100 labs with more than 4,000 equipment serving those innovation teams. We also have more than 800 business application for all the business value chains, wells, subsea, commercialization, downstream in general, that move over 1.4 petabytes of data every day. So it's also part of the sustainance. We have to sustain that infrastructure to make sure that innovation is sustained, is continuously delivering value, as well as new products are coming up. And then we are very proud to share that we have the two largest supercomputers in Latin America, as well as we have the higher declared capacity of processing with over 55 petaflops, and these are very efficient machines in terms of energy efficiency as well. These are examples of infrastructure that is placed in our housing, in our sustenance part of it. Also, as we are improving and moving on, renewing and adding capacity, we had to recognize in the machine those new inductors. And then examples here are that we are reaching 2,000 kilometers of submarine optic cables that will enable us to connect 45 production systems, enabling digital transformation of our operation, remote operation and monitoring. And then another example, the 4D seismic continuously being monitored. We are also investing in LTE, 5G network, in dozens of on and offshore industrial plants that also enable lots of other technologies to be efficiently deployed. And that's an important part of the machine. Going to the cloud, these here are two examples of our CRM and ERP with Salesforce and SAP. This is also new. We consider it as new infrastructure that are on implementation phase, both being delivered very soon in this year, and continuously adding new computing capacity. That's an example. It's our high processing capacity, as I mentioned in the previous slide. So now the last part of the machine, but not the least, the protection part of it, and with the network of sharing cyber intelligence information, we are working on accelerating and optimizing responses to incidents, secure cloud deployment, and I added here also our safety innovation lab as examples of what we have to protect all of our machines, our teams, our infrastructure, and all of our efforts in innovation. Well, with that, I finished this first approach to the innovation machine. I hope it helped you to understand how we tackle innovation here at Petrobras. But then I will move on to give you maybe one or two examples of how we deploy it, and I hope it will clarify a little more, and then you can move to our Q&A. So here on the screen, we will talk about technologies that are changing our offshore oil production. At Petrobras, we see subsea processing as a very important part of our future. There's a lot of capacity that may be enabled with subsea processing and all infrastructure that goes around it, that enables it, and that's why we're investing a lot of our efforts on subsea processing. If you look at the machine here on this slide, you see that in that example we activate some of the parts of the machine. For example, we have here R&D teams working with our industrial IoT center of excellence, activating the technology order kind of contracting approach, and also the technological partnerships. Of course, we need all the infrastructure that the machine is providing to us. That includes connectivity, computing capacity, that must be also protected by our protection part of the machine. So that's kind of an example of how we activate the parts of the machine to deliver innovation. Now I'll use the next slide to explain a little bit more of what we are looking when we are talking about subsea processing. For example, we have the HISEP, which is a subsea high pressure separation of CO2. It's important to say, as I showed in the previous slide, that everything we do with partners. We do by activating the ecosystem. Even in this example, in the technological partnerships, Academy is working with us, and in technological order, all the suppliers, traditional suppliers of subsea equipment that are also working with us. So we have to connect all the ecosystem to make sure innovation is thriving with the more efficient, as efficient as possible. So the HISEP is one of its example. Right now we have a process for hiring the HISEP solution, contracting process for that, and it's part of a bigger view about the how this subsea processing capacities can be combined to debottleneck our units, and that has reflexes on also with in emissions as we get more efficiency in production. We have the subsea desulfatation and water injection challenge, subsea water and oil separation, subsea gas liquid separation. All that has lots of application in many different fields on legacy and on growth. So legacy assets that can be improved with the deployment of this technology, but also the new assets that are coming on that will also take a lot of advantage of these technologies as they mature and are able to be deployed. And then there are some enablers that you can see on the bottom side of the slide as subsea variable speed drive, which is something very mature right now, subsea storage, electrified systems, intelligent completions, which is not written here, but A&M and all that. Also, Christmas tree here. Alternative autonomous power generation, which is all this system needs power, and that power must be provided by many different possibilities, and we are working on it as well. Subsea connectivity, I mentioned earlier before, our optic cables infrastructure deployment that we are enhancing capacity right now, combined with the LTE and 5G. This is also important to support subsea operations uh, as we want to connect all the assets. Subsea compressor, low dosage hydrate inhibitors, and barrier fluidless subsea pumps. All of these are examples of enablers that will help us develop those systems that will be combined in many different ways to to deliver value to our current and future assets. And all of that is being activated by that innovation machine that we presented before. We also have examples on digital twins and the asset 3600 solution, which is kind of a Google Street View. I'll try to show you very quickly here. You got this video. Hope will be successful. I can't make it bigger here, but you can see uh, some of the of the takes on how we use it to plan operations and make sure we have less people on board for planning activities and using that capacity to actually uh, make our interventions. And those are examples of how we use technology. uh, I gave you a previous example of hardware combined with software. Here I'm more on the software side of it, and how we use that in our advantage to plan operations, and how we activate the machine here. Again, R&D teams, our value stream teams, which are uh, uh, led by our IT guys connected to the business areas, and they are activating the Industrial IoT Center of Excellence, the Digital Twin Center of Excellence, and then acquiring solutions in the solutions acquisition module of our connections to innovation ecosystem and technological partnerships. Again, other example of how we use that machine to deliver innovation. Uh, Another example here, and that will be this will be the last one. Then we can move to the Q&A. Uh, that, in this example, we have our journey for autonomous seismic, and again we have here R&D, Industrial IoT Center, Robotics Center. The Robotics Excellence Center is very important for us to enable a lot of technologies, including autonomous seismics and uh, uh, autonomous underwater vehicle that we develop with some partners, even peers and partners in some of our fields here. And then we again activate the Connections to Innovation program to acquire those solutions and then deploy it consistently after it's developed and field proved. So coming to our conclusion, uh, I just wanna show you that we to energize that machine and coming back to our 5 strategic goals, we have to connect to the ecosystem uh, with the right protection, taking care of our teams. It's really important. Leveraging our resources and platforms with an efficient mindset to deliver digital transformation and innovation. So by now, I think we can uh, open to questions as we are. I think we are 2 minutes in.
Great, Juliano. Great.
Good in
Thank,
time.
thank you very much for the very nice presentation, very inspiring, talking with innovation. So we have some couple of questions here. Let's start with Honey. Honey was a highway. I think it's a kind of doubt on slide 4. Uh, the question is on slide 4, what the numbers on the right mean? I think it's on one of the first slides when we show a graph and how Petrobras is advancing in some numbers. So the question is the numbers getting larger? So what the distance is per cost of something? What do the columns represent in this graph?
It's as they thanks Marcel and I couldn't hear well the name of who's asking. I'm sorry
Honey.
about that. Honey. So Honey, thanks for your question. Uh, well, on the right side on that slide, we were talking about how many times faster we deployed the production of 600,000 barrels, and then I compared the Búzios to Tupi to Marlin fields, and then we showed that Búzios to get to the first 600,000 barrels per day took 1/3 of the time that we did for Tupi field, and 1/6 of the time that we did for Marlin field. Just to show you some acceleration. We don't have absolute numbers. That's true in the presentation, and that's because of a question of we can share some of the numbers here, but we just wanted to give you some perspective on how much we are improving with technology. And the other graphics were about subsea interconnection costs and well construction costs. And then we showed that we reduced it from one business plan to the other one, our assumptions in 9% for subsea interconnection costs. And that's related with the improvement that we had on actual reduction of these costs on the current exercise. And also the same thing for the well cost, that where we show that we reduce it in 1 year 5% of the cost of building our wells. So that was what this slide was aiming to communicate.
Yeah, that's right.
And I apologize for not having the absolute numbers there. It's we the question is we weren't able to share.
Okay, let's move to another one from Roy Robinson from Excipio Energy from Houston. What are Petrobras plans for powering offshore oil and gas using renewable energy?
Very good. Well, I think first we have a lot of power demand, as I showed here. Our subsea infrastructure and will require a lot of power to be run, and that power will firstly come from the FPSOs itself. We have this plan to create an FPSO grid, and it's Petrobras is evolving on gaining more efficiency in its FPSOs. There is this concept of all electric FPSOs that the regulation in Brazil is now allowing us to do. That improves energy consumption as well. But we are looking at many different power sources at this point in a very early, um very embryonic study, I would say, point. We are looking at geothermal. We are looking at even micro nuclear for powering our assets. We're looking at wind power, of course, as well. There is some vocation here for that. So we're very right now. We're very open to look at all the possible solutions and invest on R&D on those ones that are more related uh, to our profile.
Okay,
But it's a
Juliano.
great question. It's a great challenge,
Great,
for sure.
great challenge. Next one is from Dr. Binder Singh. Do you envisage utilizing AI and machine learning to solve critical materials performance, environmental cracking, and corrosion management issues?
Yes, we're definitely doing this. We have some specific challenge here. For example, we have this uh, fragile fail possibility for when you deal with CO2, the CO2 cracking problem that we face with some of our infrastructure, and we do use machine learning for predicting um the failures, and also helping us to uh, understand the life of the asset for the future, based on what kind of variables and fluxes and efforts the risers are being solicited. So the answer is yes. And the one example is the CO2 cracking problem, but there are many other uh, ways of correlate machine learning with materials. I think applications for AI and machine learning are abundant. The challenge is, how can we prioritize? The capacity is limited. The innovation teams, we do have a lot of innovation teams, but the capacity of the excellence centers, the capacity of the teams, the capacity for sustaining those innovations, they are all they are always limited in everywhere, in every company. And I think some companies fail, and we learned that as well, uh, trying to make a lot of pilot projects and maybe sometimes not being able to implement it. So too many experimentation and not much implementation and sustenance of those developments. So we do have a very strong process of prioritizing what we want to do in a broader view, not only on a specific discipline. So we're very focused on either solving the biggest challenge that we have, and also looking at the best options that we can raise on generating value for the company. And that drives our prioritization process that will lead us to choose when we will apply AI and machine learning or any other technology to deliver value in the end of the day. Thanks a lot for the question.
Great, Juliano. We have two more questions here. Hani again, another question from Hani. How are you handling subsea connectivity? All based on fiber or using hybrid systems?
Very good, Henny. We are very based on fibers. Yes, we also using robots to move data. For example, we have those nodes that we are deploying. I think in one of the slides I quickly went through it, and there was a roadmap for deploying the autonomous seismic, and then it starts with the nodes that we have to deploy, and then we have the AUVs that will basically move the nodes, but also take the data. And there's also a possibility for moving data when the frequency and it's not that high, and then it complements the fiber approach. We do have that as well. We are looking at other different ways for subsea communication, but all in the early stage. And I think it's also a great challenge how to connect all these subsea assets uh, with other opportunities of technologies to make it happen on a cost and communication efficient way.
Okay, one more here from Otto Rego Monteiro. Can you provide amount of actual investment by Petrobras in startup and tech acquisitions on an annual basis? If possible, can you break those down in national versus international investments?
Autumn, thanks a lot for your question. Uh, I think this Connection for Innovation program is very new. Uh, the 6 modules that I showed you, they have a lot of potential to enhance the investment. So far, we have invested about 600 million, something like that, on startups. We don't acquire startups. We don't have a CVC at this moment. While we do invest in startups to get to solutions for Petrobras, and we provide them with a vision of a contracting pipeline so they can see what happens if they are successful. So this is the way we look at this. Saying that, I tell you that for 2022, as we are adding more challenge to our platform, to our Connection to Innovation platform, we hope to enhance those numbers as long as there are startups and companies to compete for these challenges. We will be able to invest even more. It's all a value based approach. So we have these challenges. We will publicize them in the Connections for Innovation platform. The startups will come and compete for the challenge. We will hire them, and then it's a pipeline, and we want to enhance that pipeline even more in 2022 and going forward. So if you are somehow connected to startup ecosystems, please be aware of our Connections for Innovation program, because opportunities will come for the entire world. I don't have the separation for what's national or what's not, but I can tell you that we are open to startups worldwide. So we're looking at solutions for our challenges, and you'll be very welcome to connect to us.
Thank you,
Thanks for your
Julian.
question.
Uh, so, no questions anymore here on the chat, but I think we have some time for another one. If there's no question on the chat, I have a curiosity for you. It's my curiosity. You showed here a very innovative concept for how a company who deal and execute, operates, and boost the innovation. Uh, could you detail a little bit more how this integrated concept focus propel the innovation was originally designed? How this idea pop up for you?
Okay. Thanks, Marcel. Uh, I think it's not my idea in the first place. I think innovation has a lot of serendipity associated with it, And I think what we look at that when the machine was designed here at Petrobras was what's working, what's not working, and when it gets to success, and if we try to understand why we got to that success, and you look at what we did, you end up realizing that there was a team that was capable of accessing the resources. And of course, there was a lot of entrepreneurship in that team. But then you see that in the areas that we have, even not a formal one, but that we have an excellence center to support that team. And then when that team was able to connect to the resources, and this is very important, sometimes and very frequently in today's world, we can't do everything by ourselves, right? We have to connect to the ecosystem. We have to count on partners to be able to access the best technology and the best combination of capabilities and knowledge to deliver value in the end of the day. And I think providing those teams with the excellence centers and with the right partners uh, oftenly lead you to success. And if you can sustain it later on, if you plan it the architecture, if you plan it how that innovation will be sustained, it will deliver value for a longer time. So when you look at the success cases, the machine clearly pops up. What we did was just put together in a figure that was easier for our teams to understand, and for everyone to understand its role on innovation, because sometimes people think that only who are, for example, in R&D is actually innovating, and that's not true. I think for innovation to happen, we have to have an innovative company, and to have an innovative company, everyone must be part of it. And the idea of the engine, of the motor, was to make sure everyone is understanding that this system, to be innovative, everyone has to excel on its own part, be it operational sustenance, be it creating a new team in an innovation team, be it uh, implementing new infrastructure or protecting the whole thing. So everyone is part of it. That was the way it popped up, Marcel. Thanks to you. Thanks for the question. It was not agreed before, but it's okay.
Okay. Once again, thank you very much, Juliana, for your time and for your fantastic presentation. So, guys, I think we are getting to the end of the session. Once again, thank you very much for watching us. And thank you for OTC for the opportunity and for all the sponsors to be here this time. So we are closing here, and I, I think everything is safe. So thank you very much, and to the next opportunity here. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Marcel. Thanks everyone. Appreciate that.